We had the privilege of visiting Wreaths Across America's national headquarters in Columbia Falls, Maine. Although we have sponsored the wreath laying event in Bushnell for several years, touring their facility and forest gave us a true appreciation of the meaning from stem to stone. Morrell Worcester, his family, and volunteers do such an incredible job teaching our youth the importance of honoring those who made the ultimate sacrifice protecting our freedom. It was truly humbling to learn and understand their mission. Remember our fallen U.S. veterans, honor those who serve, and teach your children the value of freedom.
This is Morrell Worcester. He's the founder of Wreaths Across America, and all started when he was a 12-year-old paperboy for the Bangor Daily newspaper. He won what's called the Cherry Blossom Contest trip, and if you could sell the most newspapers, you would win a trip to Washington, D.C. So Morrell's always been quite a go-getter, even that 12-year-old paperboy. And he won that trip to Washington, D.C., and you got to go to Arlington National Cemetery, and you got to go and see those headstones one after another in pure, perfect lines. Fast forward to 1992, he's a small business owner. He owns Worcester Wreath Company, selling wreaths for a living. He has a surplus around 5,000 wreaths that year. Didn't know what to do with those, and he thought back to that 12-year-old paperboy standing in front of those headstones one after another. And he said, you know, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring these wreaths down there, but can I just show up? You know, do I need to talk to someone? So he gets a hold of local government here in Maine. They contact Arlington National Cemetery. They say, yes, everything gets back to Morrell step by step. And they said, okay, but you have to do it in the old section of Arlington, because they weren't really sure, you know, who brings 5,000 wreaths to a cemetery. So they bring these wreaths down. It was gonna be a one-time only deal. They get down there and they start a tradition right then. They said the names out loud of every veteran they honored. There's a famous quote, a veteran dies twice in life. Once when he takes his last breath, and the second when his name is last said for the last time. So that's why we always say the names out loud. When we're tagging a tree, we say the names out loud. When we place a wreath, anytime we can incorporate those names, we say those names. And then in 2005, our iconic photo was taken through a gentleman through the Air Force, and he snapped that photography photo, and he put a nice little poem, sent it to about 30, 40 people. They send it to 30, 40 people, and it goes viral. Donations start coming in. Well, as a private businessman, you can't collect donations, so he's got to send them all back. They sat down as a family, and they said, you know, people want to volunteer, people want to help sponsor these wreaths. It's not just Arlington, it's all over. What do we do? And they came up with this idea called Wreaths Across America. Fast forward to today, we have over 1,000 fundraising groups, over 1,500 different locations. We did over 1 million wreaths last year, and we grow by 30% each year. I know you guys flew into Bangor, but there's a Paul Bunyan statue in Bangor. The same gentleman that designed that painted this picture. And he painted this multiple times. So how this worked is he painted this picture of Morrell holding the wreath in the headstones and the wreaths, and it was grass. And they said, they sent this picture to Morrell, and Morrell said, you know, it's not about me. It's not. It's about our active members of the military. It's about America. It's about our Gold Star families. It's about those that didn't make it home. It's about teaching the next generation the value of freedom. So they went, and this gentleman repainted and put this all in here. And then he was in such a hurry because they were getting ready to present this, and someone said about the snow, so he went back and he touched everything up. He was in such a hurry, he forgot to put the pants in the Boy Scouts at the end of it. But that's kind of the story of this and how this came. You'll see a lot of different pictures, awards, and stuff like that. One of the most special ones to Morrell is this award right here. His family gave him this award. It's called the Founders Award. And what they did is they gave this to Morrell as a family, the kids did, because their father's done so much to honor these veterans, to remember. And they made this up. Morrell being Morrell, he couldn't just be the only person. So they give this out pretty much every year to one or two different people who have helped found Wreaths Across America in its own way, one way or another. All right, so what this is the Remembrance Tree program, and this is what these forms we're filling out right now are. So what we do is we put the rank, name, date of birth, branch of service, and it goes out onto a balsam tree where it's tipped or harvested every third year and made into remembrance trees to honor other veterans serving in the living memorial. This is an aerial shot of Tipley, which we'll do a little bit today. This is Balsam Valley Chapel. There's a beautiful Gold Star family monument here.
I'm going to interrupt for a minute. And he smells better. He smells just like balsam. This is Fran. I'll let you know. Thank you so much.
All down through history, the United States, there's been 43 million veterans. And really, they fought for that flag, really, that represents the United States. So we said, well, you know, I think what we'll do is we'll try to build the largest flagpole in the world. And so this is going to be the largest in the world. Yeah, it's 1,320 feet tall. It becomes the largest public monument in the United States. Has its own elevator system that you can go inside the flag pole, take an elevator, and you get out inside the ball on the top.
Oh, that's incredible.
And then it becomes an observation deck so that you can see the whole area.
So you put this in right here, and I put the balsam right in here so it's sticking out sideways like that. And then you're just gonna push your foot all the way down and then just let go.
Yep.
Yeah, let go. That was really easy, right?
Yes.
So instead of wrapping that 4 or 5 times each time, then put the next one. These wreaths are sent to locations all over the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. And it's because of these professional drivers that make that possible. So biggest thing to ever happen at Arlington National Cemetery is John F. Kennedy's funeral. There's around 55,000 volunteers at that cemetery. We broke that record in this photograph right here with over 70,000 volunteers.
Wow.
Wow, right? We broke this record last year with over 90,000 volunteers. They stopped counting at 90,000 volunteers. They're saying close to 100,000 over the flyover is what they're saying. They shut the exit down so people couldn't even come down because there's that many people bottlenecking into this. This truck, okay, these professional drivers, these people are from Patton, Maine. Their name is Scott and Lorna Harris. They're a Gold Star family. They lost their son, Dustin. Chevrolet did a big sponsorship. There's a couple vehicles out there, as you can see. So they actually, the first year, they said, we'll wrap a trailer for you guys, whatever you guys want. Well, we knew exactly who it was going to. It was Scott Harris. So you picture this. He's standing on the other side, okay? And all of a sudden, you see the stars. Then you see the headstones. And it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Then he starts to see this star. He sees his son's face above him. The emotion he had on that. You see the ships in here, the USS Maine. Renee's husband, Mike, was on eBay and comes across this. Well, things, for some reason, always seems to kind of work out for us. It just happened to be 6 miles down the road.
Oh,
the guy that actually listed it lives right here in town. So we talked to him. We actually cradled it over and advanced some of the years to get it over here. No name on who actually made this. But one of the really unique things, it actually moves. And this is the James Prout Spirit of Giving Award, the very first person that drove a load of wreaths, custom hood ornament kind of look of it with a challenge coin in the side. So, all right, we'll move down. This room is designed for 2 reasons. One is to educate, to show what Vietnam kind of looked like. This shovel right here is our chairman of the board shovel he had during Vietnam. This is a Vietnam-era Jeep that's on loan to us. We also have right here behind me a prisoner of war uniform from Vietnam that's on loan to us. This chair right here is out at the amphitheater generally during their concerts and stuff. We put it in here so it's safekeeping throughout the year. But the number one reason why this room is here is written on that wall. Welcome home, welcome home. Our Vietnam veterans did not have the welcome home they deserved. They were spit on. Things were not the way they needed to be welcome home. So what we did in partners with the Vietnam commemoration up here is we welcome home every Vietnam veteran. These are all the different signatures with over a year of Vietnam veterans that have been here and have stood. For example, this signature right here, Roger Donald, the very first Medal of Honor recipient for the Vietnam conflict. He was our past Grand Marshal. He was here when this was dedicated. The gentleman standing beside him, Mr. Johnson. We didn't get to meet Ralph. We got to meet his sister. Ralph was a Marine. They were over in Vietnam. A grenade was thrown at his unit. He jumped on top of that grenade, saved his whole unit's life. He made the ultimate sacrifice to do that. And then our different staff and employees, volunteers, people who have helped us throughout the years. This is Sir Stanley. He is our co-chairman of the board, past co-chairman of the board. He's passed away. Who has ever heard of the Christmas they never had? all of a sudden these guys all get captured, prisoner of war, and they're put into a boxcar. I'm gonna use you for demonstration, that's okay. They're put in so tight, this is how tight they are. They can't move. They're shoulder to shoulder, they can't sit, they can't kneel. They are put in so tight. Well, they didn't mark the top of that train like they're supposed to. So they marked the top of the train, so if US troops are coming through or they're not bombing supplies, think it's their men, because, you know, that's cruel to do this. Well, they didn't mark the top of the train. US troops come flying around. There's no mark on it. They think it's supplies, so they start bombing this train. Well, these guys, they're in here bumper to bumper. They can't do anything. They grab hands and they sing Silent Night. And that's referred to the Christmas they never had. Every gold star that stands in front of you is from a gold star mother who stood in front of that quilt. Like this one right here. This is Ruth Stonecipher. She's the one that made this quilt. And you see how there's dates. That's every year she comes up. They get to come up here, they get to put that star on this tree, they get to go out and they get to tag a tree for that loved one. And now we're just on Route 1. We're just going to kind of scoot down the road here to where all the wreaths, all the tips come from, are right here down in Jonesboro, Columbia Falls, Maine. And we'll go right to the chapel. We'll tag just outside of the chapel so you guys can get back on your way today so you're not stuck with all the stuff. So as you see now, all this green on us, this is Balsam Valley. This is where everything comes. We have over 10,000 remembrance trees out on the tip land. So one of the other things, there's no hunting out here on this tip land. Yeah. Morrill is anti-hunting when it comes to this. So he actually, there's a picture in the museum of a deer with a wreath, and I was saying deer eat balsam. Well, deer eat balsam. This is all balsam. So Morrill actually feeds the deer in the winter to help them reduce how many are eating the balsam. So Morrill, they call it the deer loop, and they go around and they count how many deer. I think the biggest count Morrill ever had was 99. How this is going to work is we're going to take this tag over the branch.
Okay.
And we're going to tuck it through itself.
Okay.
And then what that does is that locks it. Mm-hmm. But trees grow, right? So what happens is that pushes out as that grows, so the branch can keep growing.
Wonderful.
And that's kind of how that works. So when we do that, I have to step to the tree. We want you to come as close as the trunk as possible.
Okay.
Because why that we do that close to the trunk is because when we're taking the tips of it, we don't want the tag to fall down to the ground or lose it.
Thank you.
Then you'll notice the red tag right is at the very end of that branch.
Sure.
Because we want to be able to visually see that. So they just, basically the tippers will just leave that one branch by itself.
Okay.
Until it gets big enough that they can take off the sides of that.
The tree is calling me here. Well, I think this tree. So we're going to tag this tree in special memory of Sergeant Albert Galletti, who served in the U.S. Marine Corps and passed away in 2016. This is going to be your tree.
So let's put that right here.
Thank you.
Okay. There's a little something special I'm gonna do afterwards, okay?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Pull it tight because there's 2 clamps.
Okay.
Go to the next one. Okay, that's good. All right. So this tree has now been marked for that individual, that veteran, where wreaths will be tipped every 3rd year. That's a piece to take back with you.
Thank you.
We can take a piece of the tip if you want to take with you.
Thank you.
And I can break that off for you if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay.
This will go to his son, Ron, in Florida. Thank you. And we're going to tag this tree today for our very good friend in Florida, First Lieutenant Patrick Bradley, U.S. Army. Patrick, this tree is being tagged for you. Woo. Thank you for your service.
So there's a lot of different things that make this chapel. So they made a new chapel, and you'll notice, and I know it's hard with the snow, this side right here is kind of like coped down here, the hill over here. So Morrill and Karen's teacher from high school actually works as our tour guide, actually. And she's not afraid to tell Morrill and Karen if they're wrong still. So they actually dug the foundation so this would basically be twisted this way. They brought up Mrs. Willie and said, well, Morrill, you know, what about the sunrise coming through the stained glass and the sunset at night? And he goes, well, Mrs. Willie, you're right. So they redug this and put it this way. Karen and Morrill, they won't say, oh, we're from Wreaths Across America. They won't say that. They're very humble people. So they're looking, and they were talking to this guy. He said, well, you know, I'm looking for stained glass for our family chapel. And he goes, well, there's inscriptions on these. You probably don't think I want this. Well, he sent this inscription, this one right there. Can you read it from here? In honor of our servicemen. So you'll see this right here, and you'll go, whoa. What are the deal with these antlers? So Morrill's always been kind of like an auction goer, and his kids kind of follow in his footsteps, and they bought the contents of a Bugaboo Creek. And they said, Mom, we get the perfect lights for you. However, it would only work here because it's out in the middle of nowhere. And I know it's not showing quite that well because it's not quite dark enough out, but when it's dark out here and these lights turn on, it makes a halo that looks just like a wreath because the way the lights hit the antlers, it breaks. So it looks like a wreath. Only us would figure that out, but it works out here, it really does. So a lot of things have happened in here, but one of the most amazing ones was, so you got all these different local carpenters here, okay? And they work so hard to do all this. Well, what happens when it gets really dark? It's stained glass. It's just black. You don't see it because there's no light reflecting into it. So you've got all this blue right here that shows really good color, but at night it's just like a black window. It's really hard to see anything. So they're all sitting right here where you are. They're all sitting here, all these carpenters. And they tell Karen's son, Mike, hey, when we do the service before we all go down to Arlington, when they get ready to sing Silent Night, you go over here, shut the lights off. So everyone's standing here in the dark as they're getting ready to sing Silent Night. Now they all got up and they all walked around. I'm gonna turn this back on here so they get down, they walk down here really quietly, trying on metal stairs in a church, you know, so everyone's looking at them like, what are they doing? They get out, they've already run extension cords to big spotlights, and they make the sunlight come in, and so all of a sudden, if you can just, and I know it's so hard, so you picture this, everyone's just as black as can be. And then all of a sudden the blue glows right in here and not just the back, they do it in the front too, so all the stained glass is glowing as they sing Silent Night.